The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with the usual diplomatic chatter, right up until senior xenobiologist Kriya slammed all 6 of her tentacles on the podium. The resulting boom echoed through the crystalline hall like a death knell, and every conversation died faster than a Blorxian's houseplant. "Esteemed delegates," Kriya began, her voice shaking with what could only be described as academic horror, "we have a problem." Now, when a xenobiologist who has catalogued over 17,000 worlds across 42 systems says there's a problem, you listen. The assembled representatives from 300 species leaned forward in their seats, translation devices humming. "We have discovered a Class 12 death world." A collective gasp rippled through the chamber. Class 12. The kind of rating that made seasoned explorers retire early and take up something safer, like juggling antimatter or competitive cliff diving on high-gravity moons. "The atmospheric oxygen content alone is toxically high," Kriya continued, pulling up a holographic display that made several delegates recoil. "The gravity is punishing. The weather patterns are chaotic and frequently lethal. The local fauna includes creatures with enough venom to kill beings 50 times their size. The flora has evolved literal chemical warfare. There are microscopic organisms that can dissolve organic tissue. And the tectonic activity, oh sweet void, the tectonic plates are still moving." Council member Thexlor raised a trembling claw. "Surely nothing lives there?" Kriya's skin flushed purple with distress. "That's the problem. We detected cities." The Galactic Safety Committee's full report landed on every council member's datapad with the digital equivalent of a thud. Most of them wished they hadn't opened it. "Let's go through this systematically," announced Committee Chair Vexnala, who had the unenviable job of making apocalyptic scenarios sound bureaucratic. Gravitational force, 9.8 meters per second squared. For reference, that's enough to crush a Zentari's exoskeleton within minutes and would leave most of us unable to stand. A junior representative from the Fluffian delegation nervously raised a paw. "Surely the weather is at least stable?" Vexnala laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "The planet has what they call seasons. These are cyclical weather variations that range from, and I quote from the report, deadly heat that can cook exposed flesh, to deadly cold that freezes biological fluids solid, to something called a hurricane, which is essentially a rotating column of wind that demolishes structures for fun." The datapad scrolling sounds intensified as delegates read ahead with mounting horror. "The predator list," Vexnala continued with grim determination, "includes creatures with serrated teeth the length of a Krillnock's arm, serpents that can unhinge their jaws to swallow prey whole, massive scaled reptiles that have remained essentially unchanged for millions of years because they achieved evolutionary perfection, and insects that hunt in coordinated swarms." "What about diseases?" someone squeaked from the back. "Oh, I'm so glad you asked," Vexnala said with absolutely no gladness whatsoever. The microbial life alone could populate an entire database of horrors. Bacteria that eat flesh. Viruses that hijack cellular function. Parasites that burrow into organs. Fungi that colonize lung tissue. Shall I continue? The chamber had gone deathly silent. For comparison, Vexnala added, pulling up a chart, this makes Kragner, 7, where it rains sulfuric acid, look like a vacation resort. This makes Desolation Prime, which is literally just rocks and radiation, seem cozy. Council member Thexlor shakily proposed, we deploy warning beacons around the entire system. Mark it as forbidden territory. Surely nothing intelligent could actually evolve in such conditions, let alone build cities. The scans must be malfunctioning. Kriya pulled up another image. It showed lights. Thousands of them. Organized into grids. Connected by pathways. The scans, she said quietly, are working perfectly. Captain Zixthar of the research vessel Prudent Discovery had seen many things in his 40 cycles of service. He had navigated asteroid fields, survived diplomatic incidents with the notoriously touchy Harmonians, and once accidentally insulted a Quarnix emperor's fashion sense and lived to tell the tale. None of that prepared him for this. "Captain, the radiation levels are spiking again," his navigator HFYX announced, all four of her eyes wide with concern. "And the atmospheric scan is confirming the Council's data. 21% oxygen. That's insane. We breathe 8%. Anything above 12 is a fire hazard." "I'm aware," Zixtar muttered, staring at the blue and green marble rotating peacefully on the view screen. It looked so innocent from up here. Deceptively serene. Like a carnivorous plant waiting for some idiot insect to land on it. "Sir, we're being hailed," the communications officer chirped, then paused. "The signal is cheerful, sir. Disturbingly cheerful." Zixtar's scales prickled. "Put it through." A bipedal creature appeared on screen, its face split into what the translation matrix identified as a smile, though it looked alarmingly similar to a threat display. It had bilateral symmetry, forward-facing eyes like a predator, and was showing its teeth. "Hello there, unidentified vessel. This is Houston Ground Control. Welcome to Earth. We've been expecting someone to show up eventually, honestly. Took you long enough. Would you like landing coordinates?" The entire bridge crew stared in silence. The creature kept smiling. Zixtar found his voice. "You are aware your planet is a Class 12 death world?" The human tilted its head. "A what now?" "Death world. Lethal. Hostile to life. Your atmospheric composition alone should preclude complex organisms." "Oh." The human laughed, which the translator helpfully noted was a sound indicating amusement rather than aggression, though Zixtar wasn't entirely convinced. "Yeah, Earth can be a bit rough around the edges, but you get used to it. Look, we'd love to chat face to face. Why don't you land in Australia? It's summer there right now, beautiful weather, relatively safe." "Relatively safe," HFYX whispered. "Relatively safe on a death world." Zixtar made what would later be recognized as his first critical error in judgment. "Very well. Transmit coordinates." "Fantastic," the human beamed. "Fair warning though, watch out for the drop bears." "Just kidding. Mostly. See you soon." The transmission ended. "Drop bears?" the weapons officer asked nervously. "I'm sure it's nothing," Zixtar said, trying to convince himself more than his crew. "Set course for these coordinates. Activate environmental suits. Triple-check life support. And someone find out what a drop bear is." They descended toward Australia, blissfully unaware that the humans had just sent them to the continent where evolution had apparently held a competition for most creative ways to kill things, and everything won first place. The landing pad shimmered with heat waves that made Zixtar's environmental suit work overtime. The temperature reading showed 42 degrees Celsius, which his suit helpfully translated to hot enough to denature proteins, and then added a small skull icon for emphasis. Their human greeter was already waiting, wearing what appeared to be minimal protective clothing consisting of short pants, a thin shirt, and some sort of foot covering that exposed the toes. No environmental suit. No breathing apparatus. Just standing there in the protein denaturing heat like it was perfectly normal. "Day," the human said, extending a hand in what the cultural database identified as a greeting gesture. Marcus Chen, wildlife liaison and tour guide. "Beautiful day, isn't it?" Zixtar stared at the outstretched appendage, then at Marcus, then at the cloudless sky that was actively trying to cook them all. "You are not wearing protective equipment." "What, this?" Marcus glanced down at himself. "Nah, this is just standard summer gear. Bit warm, but nothing too bad. Come on, I'll show you around the facility. Watch your step though, the local wildlife likes to wander through sometimes." "Wildlife," HFYX repeated faintly. "The predators mentioned in the report?" "Oh, don't worry about them," Marcus said cheerfully, leading them down a path. "Most of them won't bother you. Probably. Just don't touch anything that looks colorful, don't approach anything with fangs, and if you see a snake, just give it space and you'll be fine. The crew huddled closer together. They made it approximately 50 meters before Marcus casually reached out and brushed something off the wall. Something with 8 legs. Something the size of Zixthar's hand. Huntsman spider, Marcus explained as the creature skittered away at horrifying speed. Harmless, really. They eat the mosquitoes. That was a predator, the weapons officer stammered. An ambush predator with venom. What? No, that's just a spider. The dangerous ones are the funnel webs and the redbacks. Though the Sydney funnel web hasn't killed anyone since we developed antivenin back in the 80s. Antivenin, Zixthar said slowly. You developed medical countermeasures to your own planet's wildlife. Well, yeah. Otherwise, we'd all be dead. Marcus said this like it was the most obvious thing in the galaxy. They continued walking. Zixthar had started cataloging everything that could kill them when Marcus suddenly stopped and smiled at something on the path ahead. Oh, hey there, mate, Marcus said warmly, crouching down. On the path, coiled and flicking a forked tongue, was a serpent approximately 2 meters long with distinctive brown patterning. Every single alarm in Zixthar's suit went off simultaneously. That is an eastern brown snake, his suit's database announced in a tone of pure panic. Second most venomous land snake on the planet. Neurotoxic venom. Lethal dose contains enough toxin to kill 58 adult humans. Recommend immediate evacuation. Marcus was still crouching next to it. Yeah, this one comes around sometimes. Just stay still, let him pass. They're more scared of us than we are of them. I sincerely doubt that, Prilwex whispered. The snake slithered past Marcus's foot, close enough to touch, and disappeared into the grass. Marcus stood up, brushing off his knees. See? No worries. Now, where was I? Oh right, the facility tour. That creature, Zixthar managed, could kill 58 of you. Well, yeah, but it won't unless you step on it or mess with it. It's just trying to live its life, you know? We've got a pretty good handle on snake bites these days anyway. Hospital's only 20 minutes away. Only 20 minutes, the medical officer repeated in horror. You measure survival time in minutes. Marcus laughed, the sound echoing across the compound. You lot are really nervous, aren't you? This is Australia. People come here for vacation. This is where we send tourists. You should see the Northern Territory if you really want excitement. The crew of the Prudent Discovery looked at each other. The same thought ran through all of their minds simultaneously. If this was the safe zone for tourism, what exactly did the dangerous parts of this planet look like? Perhaps, Zixthar said carefully, we could continue this meeting inside. In a controlled environment. With sealed doors. Marcus grinned. Sure thing. Just watch out for the redback spiders in the bathroom. They like the cool tiles. The conference room was mercifully enclosed, climate-controlled, and appeared to be spider-free. Marcus had ordered what he called a light lunch for his guests, assuring them it was nothing too fancy, just some mild curry and sandwiches. Zixthar's scanner immediately started flashing warning symbols over the curry. This contains capsaicin, his suit announced. A compound that triggers pain receptors and simulates burning sensations. Mild toxin. Oh, the curry? Marcus said, spooning a generous portion onto his plate. Yeah, this is pretty mild. My grandma's recipe is way spicier, but I figured I'd go easy on you for the first meal. You are consuming poison, Prilwex stated. Deliberately. What? No, it's just a bit of chili. Adds flavor. Here, try some. Marcus pushed the dish toward them. None of the crew moved. Suit yourselves. More for me. Anyone want coffee? The medical officer scanned the dark liquid Marcus poured from a thermal container. Caffeine. Psychoactive stimulant. Alkaloid compound. Toxic to most species. Can't function without my morning coffee, Marcus said, taking a long drink and sighing contentedly. Though I'll probably switch to beer after this meeting. Long day. Beer contains ethanol, Zixtar's suit helpfully informed him. Neurotoxin and cellular poison. You consume multiple poisons for recreation, the weapons officer said faintly. I mean, when you say it like that, it sounds bad. Marcus paused. Wait, you guys don't have coffee? Or alcohol? What do you do for fun? Activities that do not involve ingesting toxins, Zixtar replied. Huh. Weird. Marcus pulled out his datapad, scrolling through images. Well, we've got plenty of other fun stuff. Skydiving, bungee jumping, rock climbing, whitewater rafting, parkour, base jumping, cave diving, volcano boarding, and that's just the weekend stuff. The translator struggled with several of those terms, then provided definitions that made the entire crew's vital signs spike. You throw yourselves off cliffs, Prilwax summarized. Repeatedly. With minimal safety equipment. For enjoyment. Well yeah, it's fun. Gets the adrenaline going. That's actually another thing we produce, adrenaline. It's great. Makes you feel alive. A four-legged creature wandered into the room, tongue lolling out, tail wagging. Marcus's face lit up. Oh hey, this is Max. He's a good boy, yes he is. Marcus scratched the creature behind its ears. It panted happily, displaying impressive teeth. Zixtar's database pinged, Canis lupus familiaris. Domesticated subspecies of gray wolf. Apex predator. Pack hunter. You keep predators in your homes, the medical officer whispered. Dogs? Yeah, they're great companions. We've also got cats, which are basically tiny tigers, and some people keep snakes and spiders as pets too. Oh, and birds. Lots of birds. Did you know parrots are descended from dinosaurs? Pretty cool, right? The crew had gone very still. Marcus didn't seem to notice. Anyway, sorry about the heat earlier. Summer in Brisbane can get pretty intense. Though it's nothing compared to last year when we had those bushfires. Or the floods the year before. Or that cyclone season. Actually, come to think of it, it's been a pretty mild year. We haven't had any major earthquakes in months. Earthquakes, Zixtar repeated. Plural. Oh yeah, we get them all the time. Tectonic plates and all that. You just kind of get used to the ground shaking. Part of life, you know? Marcus smiled and took another sip of his poisoned coffee while his domesticated wolf creature sat beside him, and outside, the Deathworld sun beat down on a landscape that was apparently considered a pleasant vacation spot. Zixtar began to suspect that humans might have a very different definition of normal than the rest of the galaxy. That night, aboard the Prudent Discovery, Zixtar couldn't sleep. He did what any rational being would do when confronted with something that defied all logic. He dove into the human database they'd been provided. He wished he hadn't. Captain, Prilwax called from her station, her voice tight with disbelief. You need to see this. I've been reading about human hunting methods. Zixtar joined her, looking at the historical records she'd pulled up. Persistence hunting, he read aloud. A method where humans simply chase prey animals for hours, sometimes days, until the prey collapses from exhaustion. They don't have venom, Prilwax continued, scrolling through anatomical diagrams. No claws. No natural armor. No camouflage. They're slower than most of their prey. But they just keep coming. The prey runs, hides, escapes, and the human just keeps tracking it. 4 hours. In the heat. Without stopping. The medical officer leaned over. Their cooling system is remarkable. They secrete liquid through their skin to regulate temperature. It's incredibly efficient. Most Earth predators overheat after a few minutes of exertion. Humans can run for hours in direct sunlight. That's horrifying, Prilwyek said. They're basically Terminators. It gets worse, Zixtar muttered, pulling up another file. Look at this. Throwing capabilities. Humans can throw objects with extreme accuracy at high velocities. They have specialized shoulder joints and neural pathways dedicated to calculating trajectory. They evolved to kill from a distance. The weapons officer whistled, which in his species indicated deep respect mixed with existential dread. I watched one of their sporting events called baseball. The human threw a small sphere at over 40 meters per second. Another human hit it with a wooden stick while it was moving. For recreation. They turned their hunting adaptations into games, Prilwyek whispered. Zixtar kept reading, his mounting horror growing with each entry. Humans had conquered their planet not through superior strength or speed, but through sheer stubborn persistence and intelligence. They outlasted everything. Outthought everything. And then, because apparently surviving wasn't enough, they befriended things. Look at this domestication record, the medical officer said, pulling up images. They turned wolves into companions. Wolves. Pack hunters with bite forces that can crack bones. Then they did it with wild cats, birds of prey, horses, even some reptiles. There's a documented case of a human befriending a bear. A bear, Zixtar repeated. A bear, the medical officer confirmed. They named it Wojciech. Made it a soldier. It carried artillery shells during their Second World War. Their second what? Oh, that's another thing. They've had countless wars. Against each other. They're so successful at surviving their death world that their primary conflict is with other humans. Zixtar closed the database and rubbed his eyes. We need to report this to the council. Immediately. These aren't just survivors. They're apex predators who evolved on a planet that actively tried to kill them, and they won. They didn't just adapt to their death world. They conquered it. Then they made friends with it. Should we be worried? Prilwyek asked quietly. Zixtar thought about Marcus, cheerfully sipping his poisoned coffee next to his pet wolf, casually brushing aside creatures that could kill with a single bite, living on a continent where the weather, wildlife, and geology all competed for most creative murder method. I honestly don't know, he admitted. But I don't think they realize how terrifying they are. And I'm not sure if that makes it better or worse. The Galactic Council reconvened in emergency session exactly 37 hours after Zixtar transmitted his preliminary report. The chamber was packed. Even species that normally sent holographic representatives had shown up in person. This was that serious. Let me ensure I understand correctly, Council Member Thexlor said, his voice shaking as he read from the datapad. These humans evolved as persistence predators on a high-gravity, tectonically unstable planet with extreme weather variations, toxic atmospheric conditions, and fauna that would make a Kragner warlord weep. They consume poisons recreationally. They domesticated apex predators as companions. They throw objects with lethal accuracy. And they consider all of this normal. That is correct, Zixtar confirmed via holographic transmission from Earth orbit. He hadn't had the courage to leave yet. They're still down there, Prilwyek added helpfully. Marcus invited us to something called a barbecue tomorrow. Said he'd throw some shrimp on the barbie, whatever that means. Senior xenobiologist Kriya had gone through 3 different skin color variations during the briefing, finally settling on a nauseated greenish-purple. The ecological dominance data is undeniable. Humans have spread to every continent on their planet, including one that's covered in ice and one that barely gets any rain. They've been to the deepest part of their oceans and they've left their planet to walk on their moon. They did that 50 of their years ago with primitive chemical propulsion. I move for immediate quarantine protocols, Representative Vornax declared, slamming multiple appendages on his desk. We cannot allow apex predators into the galactic community. It's too dangerous. I second that motion, someone called from the back. Now wait just a moment, Ambassador Trillic interjected, her diplomatic training kicking in. We cannot simply quarantine an entire species based on their evolutionary history. We must at least attempt diplomatic contact and proper assessment before making such a drastic decision. Surely we can schedule a formal first contact mission, prepare appropriate protocols, and approach this rationally and methodically over the next few cycles. The chamber doors suddenly whooshed open. "Hey there, sorry we're late," came a cheerful voice that made every single council member freeze. Traffic was crazy getting here. Is this the Galactic Council? Wow, this place is amazing. I'm Jamie Rodriguez, Earth's new ambassador. Well, technically I'm an intern at the State Department, but everyone else was busy and someone had to come meet you guys, so here I am. The human stood in the doorway, grinning broadly, wearing what appeared to be formal attire by human standards but which looked alarmingly casual to galactic sensibilities. Jamie was carrying a bag that proclaimed, "I heart Earth," and holding a beverage container with condensation dripping down the sides. "We didn't send for you," Kriya managed weakly. "Oh, I know," Jamie said, walking down the central aisle like this was completely normal, which apparently for humans it was. "But Zixthar's ship was in orbit doing surveys, and we figured you'd want to meet us eventually, so why wait? We're very excited about joining the galactic community. I brought snacks. Anyone want some beef jerky? It's dried meat. Super tasty." Jamie held up a package. Several council members recoiled. "You brought preserved flesh to a diplomatic meeting," Thexlor said faintly. "Yeah, it's a road trip snack. Oh, and I've got a whole presentation prepared about Earth. Tourism opportunities, cultural exchange programs, trade possibilities. The whole works. Should I set up now, or do you guys need a minute?" The Galactic Council stared at the human intern who had just casually traveled across star systems to crash their emergency session about whether humans were too dangerous to contact. Zixthar's voice came through the comm system, resigned and tired. "I tried to warn you this would happen." Jamie had somehow commandeered the main holographic display and was now 45 slides into what could only be described as the galaxy's most aggressively cheerful tourism pitch. "And this is the Grand Canyon," Jamie announced, displaying an image of a massive geological scar in the Earth's surface. 1.8 kilometers deep, carved by erosion over millions of years. Great for hiking, though you'll want to bring plenty of water. People die of dehydration there pretty regularly, but the views are absolutely worth it. People die there regularly, Ambassador Trillic repeated carefully. And you market this as a tourist destination. Well, yeah, only like 12 to 15 people per year, and most of those are accidents. Totally avoidable if you're careful. Moving on, this is Mount Everest, our tallest mountain. 8,000 meters above sea level. The air is so thin you need supplemental oxygen to breathe, and the temperature can drop to -40 degrees. Hundreds of people climb it every year. Why? Kriya asked, her voice hollow. Why would they do that? Jamie looked genuinely confused by the question. Because it's there? And it's a challenge? Oh, and here's Australia's Great Barrier Reef. Largest living structure on the planet, visible from space. Beautiful snorkeling and diving, though you do have to watch out for the box jellyfish, blue-ringed octopuses, stonefish, saltwater crocodiles, and various sharks. We have warning signs posted. Council member Thexlor was gripping his datapad so tightly it was starting to crack. You have warning signs. For all of these lethal creatures. In an area you send people to recreate. Recreate means vacation, right? Jamie checked the translator. Yeah, vacation spot. Super popular. Oh, and if you're into winter sports, we've got amazing skiing in the Alps, though avalanche risk is something to consider. And if you like heat, there's the Sahara Desert. temperatures can hit 50 degrees Celsius. Or if you prefer wet heat, the Amazon rainforest has incredible biodiversity, plus jaguars, anacondas, poison dart frogs, piranhas, caimans, and this really cool parasite that swims up your urethra. Several delegates made distressed noises. Wait, hold on, Jamie said, finally noticing the council's reactions. You guys seem really freaked out. Is this not normal? Do your planets not have dangerous wildlife and extreme environments? No, Vornak said flatly. Our planets do not have environments that actively attempt to kill us. Oh. Jamie blinked. Huh. What about seasons? You know, temperature variations throughout the year? Our planet has a stable tropical climate year-round, Trillic offered. Temperature variation of perhaps 5 degrees at most. My world maintains equilibrium through careful atmospheric regulation, Thexlor added. Natural disasters are virtually unknown. Jamie's expression went through several interesting variations. So you're telling me you don't have winter? Or hurricanes? Or tornadoes, earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, or wildfire season? Wildfire season, Kriya repeated in horror. You have a season dedicated to fires. I mean, it's not dedicated to them, they just happen. Usually in summer when everything's dry. We have firefighters for it. It's fine. Jamie paused, looking around at the assembled delegates. Okay, I'm starting to get the impression that Earth might be a bit more hardcore than average. A bit more hardcore, Zixtar's voice crackled over the comm with what might have been hysterical laughter. Ambassador Rodriguez, your planet is classified as a Class 12 death world. It is the most hostile inhabited planet we have ever encountered. Oh. Jamie processed this for a moment, then brightened. Well, that explains why you all seemed so impressed. And hey, this is great news for the cultural exchange program. We can teach you guys about survival skills, adaptive evolution, and extreme environment management. Imagine what we could learn from each other. You could send students to Earth, we could send people to your worlds. It'll be fantastic. You want to send your people to our safe, stable, non-lethal planets, Vornak said slowly. And you want us to visit your death world, Thexlor added. Exactly, Jamie beamed. Cultural exchange. Though I should probably prepare a better safety briefing for visitors. Maybe a longer one. With more warnings. And liability waivers. Definitely liability waivers. The Galactic Council sat in stunned silence, trying to process the fact that humans genuinely had no idea they were terrifying. Ambassador Trillic leaned forward, her diplomatic composure finally cracking. Ambassador Rodriguez, do you understand that your species is unique in the known galaxy? No other spacefaring civilization evolved on a planet anywhere near as hostile as yours. Jamie's enthusiastic expression faltered. Wait, seriously? I thought every planet had, stuff that could kill you. Predators, natural disasters, weather. The usual. The usual, Kriya echoed weakly. No, Ambassador. Most planets suitable for complex life are stable, temperate, and relatively safe. That is the baseline. Your planet is an extreme statistical outlier. So when you go outside on your planets, nothing tries to kill you? Correct, Thexlor confirmed. And you don't have to check your shoes for spiders in the morning? Why would we, Vornax asked with genuine confusion, have predatory arthropods in our footwear? Jamie sat down, the presentation forgotten. This is wild. So what do you do for fun? Like, outdoor activities? We walk in gardens, Trillic offered. Enjoy pleasant weather. Observe non-threatening fauna. We don't walk in gardens, we go camping, Jamie said. Sleeping outside in the wilderness, usually far from civilization, with just a tent between you and whatever's out there. Bears, wolves, mountain lions if you're unlucky. It's super relaxing. The medical officer, who had been silently observing via remote link, suddenly spoke up. You voluntarily remove yourself from the safety of your structures to sleep in territory occupied by apex predators. For relaxation. Well, yeah, that's the whole point. Get back to nature, disconnect from technology, test your survival skills. Test your survival skills, Council Member Thexlor repeated slowly, understanding finally dawning in his eyes. You practice Deathworld survival techniques as a recreational activity. I mean, when you say it like that it sounds extreme, but it's really just camping. My family goes every summer. My little cousin got her first camping badge when she was 6. We roasted marshmallows and everything. You send your juveniles into the wilderness, Kriya whispered. For fun, Prilwyx added from the prudent discovery. To teach them skills, Jamie said, looking increasingly concerned about the council's reaction. Look, are you guys okay? You all seem kind of pale. Well, paler. Or more purple. Different colors than before. Representative Vornak stood up abruptly, swayed, and collapsed back into his seat. His aide rushed over with what appeared to be smelling salts. I need a moment, Vornax mumbled. I just realized that humans consider survival training to be a childhood activity. Children. Juveniles who haven't even reached full size yet. This explains so much, Zixthar said over the comm, his voice distant. They don't know they're terrifying because everyone on their planet is equally terrifying. They have no frame of reference. To them, this is just normal. Jamie stood up, hands raised placatingly. Okay, clearly there's been a massive misunderstanding here. We're not trying to be scary. We're just people. Regular people who happen to live on Earth. Regular people who consume poison, befriend apex predators, survive in conditions that would kill most galactic species within hours, and think this is normal, Thexlor summarized. When you list it out like that, Jamie admitted, I can see how it might seem a little intense. After 6 hours of debate, 3 recesses, and 1 additional fainting incident, the Galactic Council reached a decision. Earth will retain its Class 12 Death World designation, Ambassador Trillic announced formally. However, humanity is hereby welcomed into the galactic community with full membership privileges. Jamie pumped a fist in the air. Yes. This is amazing. With conditions, Trillic added quickly. All human visitors to other worlds must complete a comprehensive safety course on what not to do. No bringing Earth fauna or flora without extensive quarantine protocols. And absolutely no suggesting that other species visit Earth until proper safety measures are established. We can work with that, Jamie agreed cheerfully. Oh, this is so exciting. Wait until everyone back home hears about this. We're going to have so many questions. Like, what do you guys do for excitement if you don't have dangerous wildlife? Are your planets really that safe? Because honestly, that sounds kind of boring. Council member Thexlor made a strangled sound. Actually, Jamie continued, pulling out a datapad, I bet there's a huge market for human-guided tours to other planets. You know, for humans who want a relaxing vacation where nothing tries to kill them. We could call it extreme safety tourism. I should write that down. Kriya turned to Zixthar's hologram. What have we done? Welcomed humanity to the galaxy, Zixthar replied, watching as Jamie enthusiastically discussed expansion plans with several bewildered delegates. I suspect the galaxy will never be boring again. Vornax groaned. That's what I'm afraid of. Somewhere in the council chamber, someone muttered about updating their insurance policies. It was going to be a long few cycles, but as Jamie Rodriguez cheerfully shook hands, tentacles, and various other appendages, promising cultural exchanges, trade agreements, and assuring everyone that Earth was definitely worth visiting with proper preparation, one thing became absolutely clear: the galaxy had spent millennia avoiding death worlds. Now it had just invited the Deathworld's apex species to join the community. Time would tell whether that was humanity's greatest achievement or the galaxy's biggest mistake. Probably both.